Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome again to the Rexfield Investigates Podcast. You are now listening to episode 2, which was supposed to be published sometime in April. And it turns out I screwed up when I hit publish. So it looks like this has gone live about a month sooner than we had initially anticipated. So, the podcast is officially live. And I have my co-host, Stephen Dockery, here with Rexfield. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing great. And Ronnie, there's only happy mistakes, to quote my
Yep.
man Bob Ross, right? Only happy mistakes. So this
Yep.
is working out just fine.
Yep.
We'll have plenty of surprises and fun in store from Rexfield Investigates. And as we proceed, some fun guests, some great stories, and all in all, how we're helping people.
And it's one of those things where that's kind of what we're doing here is trying to take access of the PBC, the Public Benefit Corporation side of Rexfield, and start pushing that content out so we can help teach people how to get out of scams, what to do. And if they need help, we have the information where they can reach directly out to us. So
Exactly. So with the last episode, we focused a lot sort of on my background and where I came from in regards to arriving at Rexfield. And, really struck me that, hey, we got to cover all perspectives here because what Rexfield really is, it's a dynamic organization with what really our perspectives are. I say we all play in the same sandbox, but we come from very different corners of the sandbox. I want to touch on a few things with you, some of your methodologies, some of the things you really espouse in the world of cybercrime, and really kind of take your background from, how deep and how early you want to go to where we are today. Because I believe it's a really important thing to know who's helping you, right? We try to put the human side to these cybercrime attacks for our victims and how we operate. And what is better than that is getting to know our team and the perspective we bring to the table here. So, Ronnie, I'm going to let you kind of pop off, go from where you want, and I'll throw some questions in there and give you a hard time.
all right, cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. So I'm actually going to go into a little bit more of my background because it really shaped how and why I do a lot of things the way I do. And a lot of people always ask me, like, wait, where did you grow up? And it was a very unique place. So I grew up on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Specifically, I grew up in a place called Hatteras Village. That's not town, that's not city, that's a village. Growing up, we maybe had like 100 families there, and it was very much a fishing village. So at the time, when I initially grew up, my father was a commercial fisherman where he would go out and go catch fish. And then, depending on what fish he brought, he would bring it back, and that would be part of what we would eat that night. We would eventually sell that on the docks, but that was very much kind of like the roots of my childhood. So I grew up on the beach. I grew up playing with like little crabs and fish and shrimp in the little gullies and everything, and that was very much my childhood. The reason that's important is because a lot of the way that I operate is very much a community driven and a community focus. Because for the fishermen who were down there, you had a lot of community that was there. So, like, for example, if someone was struggling, you would go and help that person out. Like, you wouldn't even bat 2 lashes, so you go and help them out. If you were hit by a hurricane, for example, we would be ripping up floors. We would be helping people get the stuff out of their house so that you didn't have mold growing. So the place where I grew up is very much a community driven, you help each other out just because lifestyle. And because of that, that really shaped a lot of the way that I operate. Once I kind of started getting older, that's when I got involved in the computers and technology, and like I fell in love with it. So I had a technology teacher who had introduced me to like a lot of the technology side, and that was where I learned programming. That was where I learned how to operate Linux. So from there, I became a technician where I would go house to house for people repairing the computers if they needed it. Again, because it was very community driven, they're like, hey, Ronnie's good with computers. I would go and remove viruses off of people's computers. And at the time, as a 13-year-old kid, I'd be making 20, $30 here and there. And it was great money at the time. I remember doing like work for like one candy shop. I ended up getting remember getting paid $20, a Mountain Dew, and an entire big bag of Jelly Belly jelly beans.
Bro, I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
And like,
You and I, we've shared our candy, our love
yes,
of candy
yes,
here.
yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, even to this day, like, still just always brings a smile to my face on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I went to college, where got a computer science degree. After that, I ended up working in the defense industrial base, where I ended up hunting and tracking cyber espionage. Specifically, my bread and butter at the time was a lot of Chinese espionage. So anything from like the time frame of like 2010 to 2013, I probably touched some piece of the malware family of the APT malware at the time that was going on. So like some of the popular names people would know. Some people would recognize the names 4H. Some people would recognize the names APT1 or Comment Crew. There was other ones such as King Kong, or Bright Balls was another one.
That's a
So
good one.
yeah. So the Bright Balls was a reference for when they were using like a Flash exploit. They actually had the name of it. It was called brightballs.swf. And that was one of the ones that they used. So again, another one was Weckby that I did a lot of work on. So again, those are all like the public names that match back to the threats that I was reversing at the time. So it was really interesting. And from there, we saw a lot. We shared a lot of information within the community. That was how we would share that within the defense industrial base. So, like, if this company saw something, they would share, "Hey, we saw this attack." This company saw that, they would share this attack, and that model worked really well. And we were able to get ahead of a lot of the attacks as we were seeing around that time. So, fast forward to 2015, and I was over at Cofence at the time. It was Cofence/FishMe, and our CFO had received an email from our CEO, and they were trying to get him to go wire money on behalf of the company to go and steal the money. So at the
Mm-hmm.
time, that was the early things we saw of business email compromise, and we responded back to them. We started engaging with them, trying to get information. And unlike most of the malware at the time, there was no direct engagement for when the attacks happened. So we actually responded back and had them responding back to us. And they're like, well, yes, here's a bank account. So we were like, this is cool. We can actually converse back and forth with them. We can get bank accounts from them, and we can trick and socially engineer the scammers the same
Yep.
way they're trying to do with us. In 2015, that was when I made the business email compromise mailing list that kind of brought a lot of security researchers together, because we were all seeing this symptom of this larger crime going on. We couldn't figure it out. But that was really what got me started with trying to identify and understand the cybercrime side, as well as overlapping with the Nigerian fraud.
As an aside, I grew up in the Philadelphia area, so my community is a little more gruff per se. So it's nice to have somebody like you to have that community engagement and sort of that thought process.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that the Philly area is, you know, it's awesome. I love growing up there. Go Birds! Shout out Matt O'Neill. But
Eagles
you
fly.
know, it's a different, yeah, it's a different mindset, and
Yeah.
it's really been a breath of fresh air over our careers as we've come together
Mm-hmm.
over the past decade here
Mm-hmm.
to work the things we're working and just bring those different perspectives. And then, I was at a true point of burnout in my career when you were the one to reach out to me and say, hey, I know you're looking for that next thing. I got this, opportunity per se that we could potentially develop, and it was Rexfield. And I could not, be more excited than to be hopping on with you. But I do want to touch on sort of your take on coming to Rexfield, and then tell me if I'm wrong. But I think one of the things where you and I both really converge on is that we wanted something that we can be in control of, right? You know, apply our virtues that we like to see in things. And I feel like that's where we came together a lot with Rexfield, coming from sort of both of our burnout sides, really wanting to take something and make it ours. And then your side of perspective coming in again, bringing that community in. So, what do you think about that? And what are your thoughts on how you are now currently engaging with the community, with victims of cybercrime, and getting the word out regarding what's out there?
So one, we're at some point we need to do an episode on burnout, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
big problem. So specific to the burnout aspect, there's probably been 2 points in my career where I hit a really, really rough burnout time. The first one, it was a place where I had to straight up walk away. And I the employees I work with, they were great. The people who were still there, I still have contact with them. So it wasn't really an issue with them. It was more, I was just constantly burning from both sides. And for that first place, I never understood what truly happened, but it was something where I knew, okay, I don't want to go through that again. The second time, but here we go, the second time where I was working for as a government contractor. And for me, I learned that I'm a very passionate person and I like doing things the right way. And I like doing things in the way where if it makes sense, we can work together and do that. And again, that community aspect is just how you do stuff. So if I see a problem, if I see something that's going wrong and it's not being fixed, it bugs the absolute shit out of me. And I just sit there, I chew on it, I stir on it, and it just doesn't do me well. So that's what led to my second stage of burnout was working with the government. It was very eye-opening into the fact that I am not fit for that work. I'm a much better asset on the private side. And a lot of what ended up happening there was a lot of the processes that we had implemented, a lot of the workflows that we had were so archaic that it was 15 years behind. And they were like, hey, we want your expertise. We want you to come in here and teach everybody how to do this. I'm like, sweet, blank check, come do that, have the say. All's good to go. Unfortunately, that didn't really happen. And it just became a very rough spot for me. There was a lot of toxicity there. I know I said things, I know I did things that weren't the greatest, but again, it was just not a great environment and I did not thrive there. So the discussions you and I have had are that when we come over here to Rexfield, neither of us want to burn ourselves out. Neither of us want to do that because we've been there. We've been through that mud, that muck, that straight up being miserable where it's like we don't want to move forward with that. And with kind of having that control here, we do not expect to put any of that pressure on our employees. And Absolutely. Because of that, it's something where we've both been through the ringer on that. And what we want to do is we want to make it to where, one, we can build Rexfield as an organization that we want to work for. We can build it in a way where we can enjoy it and not burn ourselves out. And likewise, we want to make it to where the employees that we have here aren't facing those same burnouts either. Because again, with a lot of the way that burnout works, it's something that it takes like 6 months to even realize it. And then once you finally realize it, you're like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. So we very much try to put those blockers in to where we limit a lot of things that, one, burnt us out, two, that we've researched that burn other people out, and three, have that conversation to say, hey, here's how we're approaching stuff. And a lot of times with the conversations for the employees that we have very open and candid conversations. We're like, hey, if something is off, let us know. If you want to do something, let us know. And through doing that, you're able to empower your employees and kind of push them through. So that's very much kind of why I was excited about coming in here. It was, one, to work with you and everything, and two, to make a place. It's like, hey, we could truly retire from here and we could actually build something cool. And I think both you and I are kind of on the mindset of, hey, we want to come help people and help them out of fraud. We want to provide that service. And how can we do that at scale to where everybody's still able to put bread on the table? So exactly. I know, like, for me, it's really helped me refocus and relearn like what I actually want and kind of where the direction I want to go. So that's why I'm excited here and kind of excited to see where this goes.
Yeah. And, just to go back to your statement, if there's something you can't fix or something like that, where, that causes, just your thought process and burnout, if there's anything with me you feel like you can't fix, you can just yell at me. That's the good thing about our relationship and our partnership, where just tell me, just yell at me. I am not.
We have open communication like that, which is good.
Exactly. I'm not sensitive in that sense, and neither are you if we have to, get on each other for that. So that's a great thing to have. And, hey, it might lead to further stories for this year's podcast. But yeah, and, really, I'm excited to do an episode on burnout, and kind of talk about our different perspectives. And where mine came from was, just, I even tried to get out of it. And when I was able to kind of switch roles that hopefully led to less burnout, that feeling still never left, until I actually really thought about it, really tried to, get better at what the burnout had caused rather than just trying to throw, essentially a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. So we'll get to that coming up. So stay tuned for further episodes of Rexfield. We're hitting about, our time where we want to keep people here. But Ronnie, let's go ahead and round out any thoughts here, and we'll let people get on with their day.
All right, cool. Sounds good. So yeah, that's our goal, is to keep these nice and short, be nice little 15 to 20 minute sound bits to where you can be cooking dinner, put your podcast on, get your episode, and be on your merry way. So a couple of things from me. I know that a couple of things I have on the plates. Number one, check out intelligenceforgood.org. It's a nonprofit I'm involved with that does a lot of work helping scam victims, collaborating with a lot of other financial institutions in order to get ahead of different forms of cybercrime. Number two, I also have the website antiscam.education, where I provide educational material to people to get out of different types of scams. The target audience for that are people who have a family member or a loved one who has been hit by a scam. And it's something where it helps give you the resources on how to fully get them out. In addition to that, it's also for the practitioners who are working with scam victims, because a lot of times when somebody engages with a victim, more damage is usually done. So it very much helps them and gives them the resources to actually successfully get that person out. And then third other thing I have going on, Rexfield.com. So if you need us to help you investigate cybercrime, cyber fraud, or understanding how that works, give us a ring.
All right. Yeah. So we'll have more out for you guys coming soon. We may even talk about how Rexfield has moved into kind of an investigative advisory practice as well, helping out, to take multiple sides of an issue that involves some cyber trails and showing how that works too. So we're excited. Ronnie, take us out.
All right, sounds good. And with that is the end of the episode. So make sure you hit that like button, that follow button, whatever else you have to do in order to keep listening to these episodes. And with that, we are out. Have a great one. Take care. And Stephen, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you like, make sure that you hit the like, the subscribe, or whatever you need to do on your favorite platform. If you want to reach out to us, go to rexfield.com. That's REXXFIELD.com. Thank you much. Take care. See you at next episode. Bye for now.